inside Pacific Palisades neighborhood. Now the Pacific Palisades fire consumed nearly 12,000 acres, draining almost 1 million gallon water tanks in the area by early last week. Added to that is the tremendous demand from the firefighting crews, who have been practically struggling to contain the fires, ravaging houses and structures in its wake. And this also begs critical questions around the infrastructure and the amenities in hand, which may tackle fire breakouts in a housing or shopping complex efficiently, but not infernos of this magnitude, which can harm communities in whole. However, there is another side to the story. By the neighborhoods affected by the said fires, a sizable section of the rich who have been impacted being celebrities, the who's who of the town, with no dearth of money or resources. They are the people who can still, in a way, afford to fight the fire. Because as per reports, the wealthy are turning to private firefighting services. With public fire departments overwhelmed, some of the richest are reportedly paying as much as $2,000 per hour for what can be called bespoke fire protection. What does that entail, really? Private crews are hired to safeguard luxury properties from approaching flames. According to a report in the Los Angeles Times, these crews are provided by private security companies who offer services like spraying landscapes with fire retardant or wrapping trees in fireproof material. And what's more, these crews often come equipped with hoses, fire retardant gel, and their own water tanks to ensure that those opting for the services get the best out of them. But what about the poor, for whom this may sound as good as a daydream? You see, California is a drought-afflicted state where access to water in itself is a contentious issue. And the mismanagement of it, perhaps, adds to the damage. And for the poor, the going gets even tougher. As per a study from the University of Georgia, lower-income homeowners remain at higher risk of wildfires, with their insurances at stake, with many even facing stark economic woes like cancelled insurance policies and rising premiums. And from the looks of it, the situation is likely to worsen in the coming days. And if so, can the government do more to provide for the poor? Not just temporary measures of rehabilitation, but actually ensuring that they can find a roof on top of their heads and other necessary help at the end of this massive disaster. A real-life apocalypse that has unfolded in Los Angeles in the form of wildfires, hurting just about everyone and everything in their path. Not even California's famous fabulous rich are safe. Raging, unstoppable fires have killed people across class, rank and status, destroying multi-million-dollar mansions as easily as an ordinary apartment, so-called ordinary apartment. Consider this question. If this is how wild the fire gets at the height of winter, what will be the state and the fate of Los Angeles at the height of summer? A great deal hangs on that very answer, because Los Angeles, you see, is the venue of the 2028 Olympics and Paralympic Games. So, can Los Angeles ensure the safety of athletes, spokespersons, spectators during the greatest sporting event on the world's calendar? A second question here. Can any other city replace Los Angeles at such a short notice? Let's just first examine the first point. The Olympics are the world's premier sporting event. We all know that. They feature thousands of athletes from around the world. They compete in a variety of competitions. Moreover, the Olympics alternate between the summer and winter seasons. But what's the link with the ongoing fires, you must be wondering? First and foremost, as we all know, fire is unpredictable. Did anyone imagine that the fires would reach where they have, destroyed homes in January 2025? Those in favor of the event argue that this great fire has not touched any of the planned venues for the 2028 games so far. But you see, Wildfire does not send you a message to let you know where it's headed. They are called wildfires for a reason. In fact, experts have raised concern over the feasibility of hosting a big-ticket event as the Olympics, also known as LA 28, to be spread over 80 venues across the length and breadth of the city. And what's more, the event will span 17 days, demanding an investment of close to $7 billion and is expected to draw about 15 million visitors. Now, the wildfires, fast steering into several parts, have put pressure on both LA, the host city, as well as the private committee in charge of raising funds and organizing the games to figure out ways in which the event can be conducted unhampered in 2028, when LA might still be in recovery mode, reconstructing buildings, lost properties and structures. But what's the status of the planned venues for the games for now? Many of these venues are situated outside what could be regarded as high-risk fire zones, and with the fires sparing stadiums and other venues so far. But one cannot be absolutely sure given the rate at which the infernos are ripping through the city, driven by high-speed winds. But just how near or far are they located from the danger zones? You see, the prestigious Riviera Country Club, planned to host the Olympic golf tournament, is situated in the affluent neighborhood of Pacific Palisades, parts of which have been reduced to ash and rubble. Last week, the flames had come dangerously close to the venue. This naturally have given the organizers a big scare. There's also the Sepulveda Basin Recreation Area. The Sepulveda Basin Recreation Area, set to host archery and skateboarding events, which also might be at a distance too close for comfort. Not just that, the historic Rose Bowl Stadium, scheduled to host football matches during the games, also reported to be within an evacuation protocol zone in Pasadena. And as the fires moved eastward, possible evacuations also looming over the campus in Westwood, which is planned to be housing the Olympic Village. You see, from 1984, when Los Angeles last hosted the Olympics, to 2028, not much seems to have changed venue-wise, as nearly all of the 2028 events are slated to take place in existing buildings, including the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, where the opening ceremony, by the way, took place in '84. But you see, the concern does not quite remain limited to the places, but also the people who make the games. One of the most watched and celebrated events worldwide. We are talking about current and former athletes, sports persons, professional teams, some of whom have been severely impacted by the fires. In fact, just to get you some of the most prominent names that have been impacted, the fires destroyed houses of Los Angeles FC's Mexican striker Carlos Vela, as well as Los Angeles Lakers coach J.J. Redick. Also, ex-Olympic swimmer Gary Hall Jr. lost not just his house, but also a total of 10 Olympic medals in the Palisades fire. Just imagine, years of hard work, sacrifice, razed to the ground just like that. One thing is sure, the changing climatic patterns in LA over the last few years and the very unpredictability of these fires is bound to have the organizers on the edge. But coming to the second question, can any other city replace Los Angeles at such a short notice? The answer to that might not be as simple after all, given the current situation unfolding. Meanwhile, experts like Mark Derson, professor at the Pennsylvania State University, have floated contingency plans, including relocating the games to Paris, the 2024 host city, if necessary. With the fires becoming more frequent and long-lasting than earlier, thanks to climate change in some parts, can LA overcome the tragedy of this scale and its after effects and host successful games just 3 years from now? The clock is ticking.
In our top story, firefighters in California are preparing for a return of dangerous winds. The hurricane-force winds that could spark further flare-ups and stoke the wildfires again. The disaster in Los Angeles, America's second biggest city, is in its 7th day now. It has destroyed thousands of homes and killed at least 24 people, with a toll expected to rise. More than 90,000 people are still displaced. With the strong Santa Ana winds returning, officials in South California are bracing for further difficulties. Forecasters say extremely critical fire weather conditions are developing in the region and will last until Wednesday.
Severe fire weather conditions will continue through Wednesday. Please be assured that all fire departments and all law enforcement agencies in the area will be prepared. The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
National Weather Service has said that these dangerous conditions will not only make fighting ongoing fires much more difficult, but also make new ignitions much more likely. But officials are confident they will be ready to deal with the return of strong winds this week. Crews have made some progress battling the flames. Search teams are moving from house to house looking for people killed in the devastating blazes. President Joe Biden says rebuilding after the fires will carry a staggering cost in the billions of dollars. He said that in a briefing with emergency officials. He added that it's going to cost tens of billions of dollars to get Los Angeles back where it was. The fires have left Los Angeles neighborhoods in smoldering ruins over the past week, and the return of the high winds threatens to jeopardize the progress made in containing them so far.
And firefighters in California are preparing for a return of dangerous winds, the hurricane-force winds that could spark further flare-ups and stoke the wildfires again. The disaster in LA, America's second biggest city, is in its 7th day now. It has destroyed thousands of homes and killed at least 24 people. With the toll expected to rise, more than 90,000 people are still displaced, with strong Santa Ana winds returning. Officials in Southern California were bracing for further difficulties. Forecasters say extremely critical fire weather conditions are developing in the region and would last until Wednesday.
Severe fire weather conditions will continue through Wednesday. Please be assured that all fire departments and all law enforcement agencies in the area will be prepared. The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
The National Weather Service has said that these dangerous conditions will not only make fighting ongoing fires much more difficult, but also make new ignitions much more likely. But officials are confident they'll be ready to deal with the return of strong winds this week. Crews have made some progress battling the flames. Search teams are moving from house to house, looking for people killed in the devastating blazes. President Joe Biden says rebuilding after the fires will carry a staggering cost. In a briefing with emergency officials, Biden said it's going to cost tens of billions of dollars to get LA back to where it was. The fires have left LA neighborhoods in smoldering ruins over the past week, and the return of the high winds threaten to jeopardize the progress made in containing them so far.
The devastating winds that have been transforming wildfires into blowtorches have persisted for another week. The fires threatening lives and wreaking havoc as far as homes, businesses, cultural landmarks in Los Angeles and the rest of South California are concerned. AccuWeather now estimates damages and economic losses between $250 and $275 billion from an earlier estimate of $135 to $150 billion. Lost salaries and interruptions to the supply chain are examples of secondary losses that the commercial forecaster has considered for its estimate. According to Edison International, the Southern California Edison Company is ready to turn off power if the next round of strong winds makes it necessary. The company's website stating that about 430,000 customers would be affected by scheduled disruptions. AccuWeather's chief meteorologist, Jonathan Porter, said, and I'm quoting, "This is already one of the worst wildfires in California history." On Tuesday, the U.S. Storm Prediction Center warned of extreme fire conditions throughout 5,872 square kilometers around Los Angeles. This is due to the resurgence of winds, which will whip flames with gusts strong enough to cause tropical storms. Conditions will remain critical until Wednesday for an even bigger area, which is home to almost 9 million people. More than 12,000 buildings in more than 40,000 acres in the Altadena and Pacific Palisades neighborhoods of Los Angeles have been destroyed by the fires. Gavin Newsom, the California governor, said the fires could be the country's worst natural disaster in terms of just the costs associated with it, in terms of the scale and scope.
Moving on, powerful winds are threatening to spark further flare-ups in California and stoke the massive wildfires that are still burning around Los Angeles. The tragedy has killed at least 24 people and has left the city shaken. It has been over a week since the disaster hit America's second biggest city. It has destroyed more than 12,000 buildings and more than 90,000 people are still displaced. Forecasters have predicted the return of particularly dangerous Santa Ana winds. The National Weather Service has warned residents to stay aware of surroundings and be ready to evacuate. A large part of Southern California is under a red flag warning, and officials are bracing for further difficulties. Forecasters say peak winds are now expected between 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. local time on Wednesday. Speaker Mike Johnson has said that President-elect Donald Trump plans to visit areas in Southern California which were burned down by the wildfires. Johnson gave no details about when Trump will visit, but he also discussed supplemental legislation that may include disaster aid to California. Now, in the latest, the containment of the Palisades fire has been reported at about 17% and the Eaton fire at 35%. And crews have made some progress battling the flames. Search and rescue team are going through damage and moving from house to house looking for people killed in the devastating blazes. The fires have left Los Angeles neighborhoods in smoldering ruins over the past week, and the return of high winds further threatens to jeopardize the progress that has been made in containing the fires so far. The renewed danger comes with 24,000 acres of the Pacific Palisades in ruins and 14,000 acres of Altadena badly charred.
In LA, the city's vast entertainment industry is already counting the cost of yet another drastic setback. Actors, crew, writers, producers have lost their homes, but Hollywood is in no mood to face another tragic shutdown. Studios and celebrities have started their donation campaigns and indoor shootings have resumed. Hours after donating $2.5 million to fire relief efforts, Beyoncé made another big announcement regarding her 14th January mystery reveal. In a statement released by her, she said, and I'm quoting, "The 14th of January announcement will be postponed to a later date due to the devastation caused by the ongoing wildfires around areas of LA. I continue to pray for healing and rebuilding for the families suffering from trauma and loss. We are so blessed to